fam. We are so excited to share episode 1 of our 6-part coverage of Oxygen's The Disappearance of Natalee Holloway. The series tells the story of 18-year-old Natalee Holloway, who made international news in 2005 when she vanished in Aruba at the end of a high school graduation trip. In the series, we follow her dad, Dave Holloway, and a private detective as they return to Aruba to try to figure out what happened to Natalee. All 6 episodes are available right now and ad-free on our Patreon feed. That's where you can also find our episode-by-episode coverage of The Tiger King, Don't F With Cats, The Jinx, Making a Murderer, and so many more. It's over 140 ad-free, full bonus episodes to download and binge right this second. Head to patreon.com/truecrimeobsessed or go to our website and click the Patreon link. All right, you guys, enjoy the episode. I don't know how to tell you this.
Oh, God. What is it?
Aruba's the new Portugal. I'm never going there. Aruba is the most dangerous place on earth. I put Portugal behind it.
Yeah, it doesn't look great for Aruba.
No. Hey, you guys! Welcome to the Pates.
Oh God!
What are we talking about, girl?
We're talking about The Disappearance of Natalee Holloway, episode 1, new lead.
I've really wanted to do this for a long time. It's been on the Pates list for like a year.
A really long time.
Yeah. I thought she disappeared off a cruise ship. I was disabused of that notion.
I think you told me that on the air.
Yeah.
You know our policy. Once we started doing this, we stopped looking into every true crime.
Totally.
So we're learning about it, and
as we go.
You guys, it's all bad.
Yeah.
It's all really horrible.
Speaking of really bad, it gets better, but this whole thing opens with like a whole bunch of on-screen text over what looks like a really poorly made like replica of a beach and a lighthouse. And I wrote, Oxygen, girl? Are we out of money?
Oxygen, are you okay, sweetheart?
What's happening over there, you guys?
Are you okay? All right, I'll pour the cocktails. Come over and let's talk about it.
So here's this. We get a lot of on-screen text right at the top. So here's what we know.
Yeah, this is a big coming up on the series as a whole. There's like a whole thing. I'm like, should the notes happen yet? Right, or are we just, is this just a really big summary of what we're about to sit through for the next 6 hours?
So on May 30th, 2005, 18-year-old Natalee Holloway, she spells it Natalee. I've never seen that before.
I have.
Have you?
Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
All right. Wow.
Great.
Should I go?
I mean, fine.
Natalee Holloway disappeared off the island of Aruba despite numerous leads. No charges have ever been made in connection with her disappearance. That's weird because I definitely know who did it after this one episode.
No question in my mind. Super Hot Husband Mike knows who it is. I was like, we're doing the Natalee Holloway thing. And he goes, that's Vandersloot, right? You totally did it. Super Hot Husband Mike, you've just like, wow. Didn't think you could get any hotter.
So 12 years later, her dad, Dave Holloway, continues to search for the truth. I'm going to go on record. I really like Dave.
I like him too.
Okay.
It's hard when we just start and I haven't watched the entire series.
Right, because you're like, oh, God. You know who did this to you? Leslie Abramson did this to you.
I can't even talk about it. I know. I'm really upset. And Dave is like her dad. Like, Dave has to be good forever,
I got to tell you, like, so this is Oxygen. We've been told, like, little birds have told us that, like, bigwigs at Oxygen sometimes listen to us when we do these.
Oh, hi.
Hi, you guys. I love an Oxygen documentary.
You do.
This was a little bit more heartstringy for me than I thought it was going to be. The whole idea of, like, losing a daughter.
Of course.
Like, and not even just, like, losing a daughter to the death, but, like, losing a daughter in a way where you don't really know where she is.
Right, that 12 years later, you have to go through this heartbreaking process of what Dave is going through.
It's fucking horrible.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he says as much. He's like,
I never dreamed that 12 years and we still have nothing until now.
Until now. So the whole setup of this episode is that there's new information.
Right, that's why Oxygen made the series, because there's like new shit has come to light, as they say in Lebowski.
Are we ready for more on-screen text? Should we put some cool music under it?
Yeah.
Okay, let's get the music.
I love a good, cool music bed.
Wait, what do you think about this? What do you think about this song? Something different?
Yeah.
What about this?
Oh, see?
Now
you're speaking my language here.
So, March 26, 2017, private investigator TJ Ward questions John Ludwig.
I just have, who is John Ludwig? I immediately regret asking. I don't like John Ludwig.
Ludwig claims to have new information about the details of Natalee's remains. This information could finally provide the answers to questions the Holloway family has been asking for 12 years. If confirmed, this could lead to the conviction and justice for Natalee. And then I just wrote, okay, I am so fucking sick of typing. When is this on-screen text going to stop?
Let's go.
Oh my God.
You know what? That's on us, though. Be careful what we wish for. How many times are we like, a little clarity, some on-screen text, never hurt anybody?
You're right.
You know?
You're absolutely right. All right, so we're finally in the actual episode.
Right.
And we're with Natalee's dad. And of course, like, we learned that Natalee was a great kid.
You couldn't ask for a better kid than Natalee. She was my firstborn. Always respectful, straight A student, and just one of those model kids.
The last time he saw her was at her high school graduation.
Right, because she was in Aruba for this big class trip. So that was, I mean, it was like right after high school graduation.
Yeah.
And we learned that Dave is married to Robin, who's his wife.
Yes.
And we learned Beth is Natalee's mother and his ex-wife.
So then the dad tells us,
Sometime in, I guess, February 2005, Natalee called me and said, Dad, I need you to pay half of my trip to Aruba.
to which I wrote, I'm assuming she said please.
Yeah, he writes the check right away.
Look, I am really working on the boundaries with Daisy.
Yeah.
You don't say please. You don't get to go to Aruba, Daisy.
Yeah, I didn't grow up like this.
Yeah.
In this kind of high school. I went to a very, very, very small high school on the Upper East Side of Manhattan. So the idea of this like 100 kids going on a trip after graduation, and it felt to me like it was kind of expected. Like, Dad, you pay for half of the Aruba trip that everyone in the world is going on.
But like, can't you say please?
No, you say please. You may, Dad, so...
You're the most polite person I know. You're arguing against please?
I'm not arguing against... Wait, let me be clear. Please, for sure. So, but I get the sense, like, did you grow up like that where it was like the big high school graduation trip? Like, I didn't have this at all.
My family went to McDonald's once every 3 months, and that was going out to dinner.
Okay.
A single lesbian mother of 4 children, Jillian.
Right.
How many times do I have to tell you?
But in Boston...
I had one pair of pants for all 4 years of high school.
Well, here we go. Oh, God.
But can I tell you a real story?
But did you know, like, kids...
Of course.
Kids did this? I didn't know anyone where, like, this is their life, is what I'm trying to say.
We were so poor that there was a dumpster in our neighborhood that was owned by a company called BFI, and there's a big BFI sticker on it.
Yeah.
My sister's name is Becca,
Yeah.
and the kids used to say that stood for Becca's family inside.
That's horrible. Kids are the worst.
You guys, if you're laughing right now, it's okay. My sister
Don't
Becca.
you laugh at that. Don't you tell them that's okay. That's a bad precedent to set. We don't bully on this podcast.
We laugh at it now, but like Becca's family inside. That's how poor we were.
That is like one of them. That is horrible. Give me all their names.
I know. Fucking terrible. But so to answer your question, no, I did not grow up like this.
And they were booked at the Holiday Inn right on the beach. What I didn't realize was that the drinking age in Aruba is 18. And so it was a big party from what I understand.
We learned that like the drinking age in Aruba is 18.
That's why they're there. And the thing is, regardless, you can have 150 chaperones. If this is the big graduation trip, bye-bye high school, hello college, they're gonna find the booze.
I know. So it was a big party.
Yeah, it's the last night of vacation.
Right.
So they're at this place called Carlo's and Charlie's, which is basically like, I was like, wait, that's like Senor Frog.
It's a Senor
right?
Frog. That's exactly what it is. It's like a fucking margarita joint where the karaoke is fucking terrible.
Right.
When the club closed down at, say, 1 o'clock, some of the group was going to go to another bar, and Natalee got in the car with 3 local boys. One of the kids said, Natalee, get out of the car. And I think she thought that she was going back to the hotel. And that is the last piece of the story that is verified to be true.
We find out that Natalee gets into a car with 3 local boys. And I just have like, what the actual fuck? Her friends let her get in the car. I mean, people shouldn't kill people. You know what I mean?
That's very... Yeah.
So, number one, people shouldn't kill people. But, like, friends, when you go out to a bar together in a foreign country, can you all go together and leave together? Can we all not, like, let our friend get into a car? There is actually something to actually insisting that your friend doesn't do it.
Right. And it sucks because it's like these drunk 18-year-old girls, it's not their job. Like,
No.
just don't murder people.
Yeah.
Everything about this is like,
I know.
what are you supposed to...
It just makes me crazy. It's like stories like these become the cautionary tale for why people don't, like, do that anymore.
I know.
And it's so fucking sad.
Right. So Dave is saying that's the last part of the story that's verified to be true, that Natalee got into the car with these 3 local unknown boys.
Yeah.
So now it's the next day and it's 11 a.m. and Natalee has missed her flight, which is interesting because I'm like, well, to miss her flight, people had to know that she wasn't back at the hotel room. And that was a whole morning of like, I just see like Home Alone when they're counting people and a partridge in a pear tree. Like,
The news media picked up on the story almost immediately. And within days, the island was overrun with cameras and media.
18-year-old Natalee Holloway was with about 125 graduating seniors and adults on a 5-day trip.
If you're going to have a trip of 100 teenage kids who just graduated high school and can't wait to party and go to college, if you're going to be a chaperone, you have to do it right.
You know who'd be great at this?
You.
Not me. Steve Tipton.
Steve
Tipton has chaperoned
clipboard and his Excel spreadsheets, no question.
He has chaperoned every single field trip that Daisy has had since she's been in kindergarten. There's been like 40.
Yeah.
Steve is on every fucking one.
He loves it.
He could give a teacher training in chaperoning.
I'm sure.
He's so good. He can see every little bastard kid that picks up a nail off the street. Steve's got it out of his hand in 5 seconds.
Great.
It's unreal.
Picks up a nail.
These kids, I'm telling you. New York City kids in the public school. It's love is a battlefield.
Kids.
I know.
How do you parents do it? With the worrying every second of every day and then picking up nails in the street. Like, can you give... And I'm talking to young me. Can you give the parents a break for 5 minutes? Can you let them have a good night's sleep for once?
So suspicion falls on the 3 boys that Natalee was last seen with.
2 brothers and a Dutch national, the son of a judge, 17-year-old Joran Vandersloot.
So June 1st, like a day later, the dad, of course, fucking drops everything and flies to Aruba.
Right. And so he goes right to the cops.
Yeah.
And they are not worried.
No.
The first thing that came out of the police officer's mouth was, oh, she'll show up in a few days. That's usually what happens around here. She'll show up.
We hear this all the time. Remember in the Natalee Wood episode where it's like people don't return to the boats all the time? Like, she'll turn up.
That's the most worrisome thing you could tell a parent.
I know.
Which is young girls go missing all the time. She'll turn up, no worse for wear. Not even thinking about where was she?
I know.
What happened to her?
I
what
know.
trauma are we dealing with here? They don't care. So the cops interview these 3 suspects.
Yeah.
The brothers and Vandersloot. And the boys say they took a ride around. They picked up Natalee.
Yeah.
They took a ride around this lighthouse and then they dropped her off in the lobby at the Holiday Inn. However, security footage says otherwise.
It's like these fucking dumb boys. Of course they don't think for 1 second about like, oh, there's going to be security footage, which is so easily disproves their story.
Right, because Vandersloot, as the son of a judge, like knows that no matter what happens, he's going to get off anyway because his dad's super powerful.
Totally.
The surveillance footage of the Holiday Inn was viewed, and we found out that she did not return to the hotel.
So they go back and they question them again, and the boys can't get their story straight.
And the dad, Natalee's dad, finds this out when he gets the police reports, God only knows how long later.
Right.
That, like, you know, they've got the 3 boys in 3 different rooms. They're giving 3 different versions of the night. None of them add up. And the cops were like, close enough. They let them go.
They couldn't get their story straight. So that tells you right there that they're the suspects. Any detective worth his salt would have broken those 3 kids.
They're the last person seen with Natalee. They lied about dropping her off. They can't get their story straight. These guys did it.
Right.
They know.
Yeah, well, like, there shouldn't be a story to get straight.
Exactly.
Right.
So now we're learning that, like, the word gets out that a pretty blonde white girl has gone missing in Aruba. The media descends.
Right.
In a way that it would not for any other kind of person.
Right, like Nancy Grace is here. Right. Like, it's a whole thing.
The news media picked up on the story almost immediately. And within days, the island was overrun with cameras and media. It was very stressful.
But luckily, the media stayed by our side, which brought in a lot of volunteers that wanted to help.
But we do this thing where we're jumping. It's like 3 days missing. All the search party starts at the sand dunes.
Yeah.
Then we just jump. Like suddenly it's 18 days missing.
Yeah.
And this 18 days later, the 3 boys are actually arrested. That's 18 days of like the fancy pants judge calling in favors, 18 days of them actually getting a story straight. A lot can go down in 18 days.
Why would you wait 18 days to arrest your primary suspects? The more Aruba police tripped up and made obvious mistakes, the more the national media seized on it. And it eventually became a nightly broadcast from Aruba on what was going on that day. And more things started coming up that just didn't sound right.
So here's what I want to say. Immediately, we're being told that Vandersloot, whose dad is the judge, like, he went to the judge, and the judge has all this time to, like, come up with a story and call in the favors and call his friend. Is there any thought that the judge wouldn't do that? Like, if Daisy came to me and was like, Dad, I accidentally killed this person, what do I do? I'd be like, well, I don't know. Let's go to the cops and have that. Like, let's figure this out together with the police. Like, why are we automatically assuming that the dad is garbage?
Because he is.
Okay. But do we know that? Like,
yeah.
Okay, we do?
Yeah.
Have you watched more?
I watched the second one and I gave some gooks.
Okay. So the dad is garbage. Okay, good to know.
So while Joran, while Joran is locked up, like all these tips are pouring in, right? Which is it's like the bad part of having all these eyes on a case. It's like everyone wants to be involved. Everyone saw something and these tips can be nothing. But they, as a parent, Dave is thinking the tips could be something. So they can potentially waste a lot of time, but they can potentially lead to finding Natalee.
Right. So now it's 28 days missing and they're searching a pond. Oh, we went over this in the Aaron Hernandez thing. I do not like this idea of searching ponds.
No, but they're looking for Joran's missing sneaker.
Searchers are still keeping an eye out for a sneaker. A witness claims lead suspect Joran Vandersloot was missing one the night he supposedly walked out of this pond covered in mud.
You're walking home in the middle of the night for some reason, and you're like, is that Joran, the judge's kid? Like, can you imagine?
With one shoe on.
Right.
Like he's the Swamp Thing.
Like, what?
This is one of those bad tips.
Right.
Because then we kind of get almost like a montage of just like all the leads that went nowhere.
Yeah.
And the days are just piling up.
I mean, the other thing is all of these leads, because the media has descended on this little island, every lead is really followed up on. So they find this duct tape with a piece of long blonde hair. They give it a DNA test. That's crazy.
Yeah. And it doesn't match.
It doesn't match. They search a landfill and the dad says to us, like,
There was a low point, a very, very low point, having to dig for your daughter in a garbage dump.
that hit me like a ton of bricks.
Yeah.
It hit me like a piano, like you said once.
Yeah. Because the thing is, and this happens in every missing person or any case really, like the best news is that like on that day they find his daughter's body in a landfill.
I know.
Is that the good news here? Like he wants answers.
Yeah.
But when you say it out loud, you're like, this is an actual nightmare that this man is living and their family.
And there's no fucking answers. I keep thinking like, I don't know what this man does for a living, but thank God he's obviously has the means to just like relocate to Aruba for all of this.
Right. So, and the thing is like, can we just go back to Vandersloot for a minute?
Yeah.
So Paulus is Joran's dad,
Yeah,
right? And
the
he's
judge.
training to be a judge. But the police commissioner, Jan Vanderstraten, is his godfather.
Right.
So now we hear from Dave, the dad. He's like, look.
Their thought pattern is it's going to ruin our tourism if we find a dead body on the island. And so essentially it appeared to be a cover-up from the beginning.
They didn't want the tourism to be ruined. If
See-
there's a dead body on the island, says Dave.
I guess that makes sense to me. I just don't understand. Like, I don't get it. If my daughter came to me and said she killed a guy, we turn you in and we get this sorted out. Like,
Do you?
yes, there's no part of me that if Daisy killed somebody would love her any less, and there's no part of me that would try to cover that up. That's insane.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. I mean, yeah. But
Daisy's like, oh, tell Aunt Jillian if I ever kill somebody. Now I know who I'm going to.
I'm a very good secret keeper, is all I'm saying. But it's all over the news that the police in Aruba are doing absolutely nothing to help the case.
Are they doing anything to investigate this case as far as you can see?
As far as we can see in Aruba, absolutely nothing.
They want this case to go away at all costs. They don't want to do anything. They're not doing anything, and they're just hoping that it would go away.
And so in Aruba, apparently, it's up to the prosecutor to get what they call additional information. And if the prosecutor doesn't find this additional information, then the suspect or suspects is set free.
And no new evidence was presented. So on September the 3rd, 2005, they let him go. Joran was the last person seen with my daughter. He knows what happened, and now he's free and clear. I mean, I was beat down, but, there's nothing I could do about it.
God, every time we cover a case where it's like some foreign country, like their laws seem very strange to me.
We have some not great ones.
Yeah, that's
just to be fair.
Yeah, that's
it's all pretty bad. We have a lot of state-by-state bullshit that I'm not too fond of.
The whole electric chair thing.
That whole thing,
Yeah.
the death penalty thing. Yeah, the Electoral College is what I thought you were going to say, which I agree with. So the thing is, like, the prosecutor who has, like, Aruba's interest, like, the state, essentially, just doesn't present new evidence and then, like, helps this case go away, according to Dave the dad.
Right. Yeah, it would be nice if we heard somebody from the like Aruba Police Department who had like any counter argument to this.
Mm-hmm.
I'd be open to that.
I'd be interested
Yeah.
in that information.
So the dad says, and this is the thing that makes me so sad and scared. The dad says, like, over the years, we've pursued any and all leads.
Yeah.
Like in the water, on the land, she's in the sex trade. Like this island, by the way, is like 7 by 20. It's not, she's on there
small, right?
somewhere. Yeah.
So Natalee Holloway is missing for 96 days and Joran is released from custody custody because the prosecution just like got bored with it and fell asleep or whatever.
Yeah.
So that was 2005.
Right.
10 years later in 2015.
10 years goes by. I cannot imagine.
It's 2015. Out of the clear blue sky, bing, Dave gets a phone call from some guy named Gabriel.
Yeah.
And Gabe is like, girl, are you sitting down? Like, sit down, because I'm living with someone who knows Joran. And this guy knows a lot about the case, and this will not stop talking about it. Oh, and he knows where Natalee's remains are, so call me back. Bye. Beep. Gets cut off by the voicemail. So we don't know the beep.
And I thought, oh my gosh, this could be it. We could finally get justice for Natalee.
And I'm like, hell of a time for a commercial break, Oxygen.
Yeah, and then when we come back from the commercial break, we like don't immediately pick that story back up.
We're back in 2007, 906 days missing.
I know, and like this is where we hear about crab traps. And we're going to hear from the dad eventually that his working active theory was that she was murdered and then put in a crab trap out in the ocean to be disposed of.
A sonar-equipped ship is searching the Aruban waters for any sign of Natalee Holloway. Well, they found something, a piece of fabric inside a crab trap. The FBI laboratory in the United States tested the fabric to see if it matched Natalee Holloway's blouse. But they say it's not a match.
This case is so high profile.
Yeah.
The media is still all over the case so much. They find this little piece of fabric and they test it and it's not her.
But whose is it? I'm hoping...
That's a very good question. It's Maura Murray's. It's for sure Maura Murray's.
That this is a situation where someone was lifting the crab trap up and a crab got their shirt and then it just ended up in the crab trap. Because if that is a working theory, right. I'm thinking, is there someone else's murder we should be investigating also?
Oh my God.
Why is there a fabric in a crab trap? I have to hope that a little crab went, yep, and then that's how the fabric got there. That's how I'm going to sleep at night.
Yeah, I'm going to go with that.
Everyone, good luck. You can borrow this theory if you like, but I'm going to sleep tonight by thinking that it was a little crab and then got the fabric.
They also, at 1,992 days missing, they find a jawbone and they test that and it's not her.
And at 1,758 days missing, a possible skeleton is found.
Yeah, and it's like somebody shows them a picture of this like location in the water that looks like maybe it could be human remains. They are truly investigating every fucking lead.
And nothing goes anywhere.
Yeah.
It's just dead ends.
Yeah. Oh my God, you guys. Vandersloot, his dad dies.
Paulus.
Yeah, the judge, he drops dead on a tennis court.
Of a heart
Teach you
attack.
for going out and doing some exercising.
Look, remember that time I ate a vegetable sandwich and ended up in the hospital with food poisoning? I tried. I tried.
So Joran did not have that support that he once had. His father protected him throughout all this time. But after he died of a heart attack, Joran, with the use of drugs and alcohol and the partying, he was kind of out of control.
His dad dies, and Joran's response is to just like party out of control. Now, people deal with grief in their own way.
Yeah.
And I'm saying that sincerely. Sometimes you think like, I just got to get out of I got to party and do whatever. But Joran takes it in we don't agree with how he does this.
No.
I'm going to judge his grief in this moment.
Yeah.
And this is in 2010.
Right. Joran then also, this fucking garbage human.
Yeah.
He calls an attorney in New York and says that for $250,000 from the Holloway family, he'll tell them where her remains are.
He calls Beth, Natalee's birth mother, he calls her lawyer.
This is without a doubt among the cruelest, most sickening of schemes. Jordan Vandersloot trying to profit from a mother's grief.
He gave an agent posing as a family representative a location that later turned out to be false. He has since been indicted on extortion and wire fraud.
They pay the money.
They paid him first, like they paid him up front.
$250,000 fucking dollars.
Yeah.
And then he leads them to like a completely bogus place. He like does not lead them to the body.
Right. So now he's indicted on extortion and wire fraud.
Yeah, but he in Aruba. But before anything can happen, like he goes to jail or whatever, he flees the country with the $250,000 and goes to Peru.
And blows it all on partying.
In like a week.
Yeah.
As this section was happening, I was like, what?
Yeah, because then...
I get you. We're not done yet, you guys.
While he's partying and blowing all this, like, this blood money, really, essentially, that he, like, convinced this family to give him, he murders an innocent woman.
Breaking news out of Lima, Peru, where police say Joran Vandersloot has confessed to killing a woman there last week, reportedly after she looked up information on his computer about Natalee Holloway.
So he meets this woman. Her name is Stephanie Flores. He meets her in Peru. They're in his hotel room or whatever, and somehow she finds out that he's connected to the Natalee Holloway case.
Right.
And probably because she's like, who is the stranger whose room I'm in? Let me give him a goog while he's in the bathroom.
And like Vandersloot, you want to look at, like, that's a name that you're like, what the what?
Right. So she looks him up real quick, and then I guess she like has access to his computer. She gets on his computer to look up stuff about Natalee Holloway. He fucking kills her for it.
It's insane.
Like, in the moment. She's on the computer and he kills her in the moment.
In that hotel room.
Yeah.
And it's crazy because, like, the news of this breaks 5 years to the day of Natalee going missing.
When I first heard about Stephanie Flores' murder, I thought to myself, I knew he was going to do this again, and I'm not the one who points fingers in the blame game and stuff, but, Aruba had their shot. They had an opportunity to arrest him right after the extortion money, and then he fled the island, and now he's murdered another girl.
So just so we're all on the same page, he obviously killed Natalee Holloway.
Absolutely, he did.
She was onto him.
Stephanie was.
Found some evidence on his computer, so he kills her.
He kills her. So then we're back to this John Ludwig guy.
Yeah. What we learn is that this John guy has become best friends with Joran, right, whatever his name is.
Sure.
After Paulus died of a heart attack, Joran relied on this guy by the name of John Ludwig as his main source of support.
So Joran in Peru goes to jail. He gets accused of this murder and I guess found guilty.
Sure.
And so this guy John is now on Nancy Grace being interviewed about it.
Defending Vandersloot.
It's unreal. And guess who's not here for it?
Me and Nancy Grace.
John Ludwig, friend of Jorn Vandersloot. John, thank you for being with us. You're a friend of Jorn Vandersloot's. Are you surprised that he's actually pled guilty to murder?
Well, he really didn't have a choice in this situation, so I'm just hoping for the best.
Well, what do you mean he didn't have a choice?
I mean, even I can't dispute the evidence. He obviously murdered her. I'm not saying that it wasn't provoked, and I believe he did have post-traumatic stress syndrome. But
what do you mean provoked? You think Stephanie Tatiana provoked Jorn Vandersloot into murdering her? What do you mean by that?
I do believe so. If she got the email and figured out he was involved in Natalie's stuff, she should have just immediately left the room and not confronted him.
What? How did that provoke him? That she said, whoa, are you the one that people believe killed Natalee? How did that provoke him into murder?
It enraged him, obviously. So she shouldn't have done that. I don't believe
she shouldn't have done that. Okay, John Ludwig, no offense, but do you realize how crazy you sound right now? That she basically deserved the murder because she said, whoa, you're the guy they suspect that murdered Natalee Holloway? That she shouldn't have said anything? That it's her fault she didn't leave the hotel room?
I have to tell you, you guys, there are moments where it pains me. Like, I agree with her 100% on what she's saying here.
Yeah.
I also watched this full clip. This full clip is bananas. But John is on Nancy Grace saying, look, obviously he murdered her, okay? We're just hoping for the best.
Right, because Nancy Grace is like, are you surprised that he pleaded guilty? And John's like, well, he didn't have much of a choice because he definitely did it.
Super murdered her. Right. So he's like, we're hoping for the best. And he's basically like, come on, 10 years or less. Woo!
Yeah.
Like, let's... And so let's just pause there.
Yeah.
We get back to this.
We're coming. Put a pin in this, you guys.
Because this is just a little context. Like, thank you, Oxygen. Like, here's who John is. Here's who we're working with this John character.
Yeah.
Because now we're back to Gabriel, that guy who called Dave the dad out of the clear blue sky.
Yeah, he called Natalee's dad and was like, yo, I'm living with this crazy guy who knows all about your daughter's murder. You guys, it's John.
It's Nancy Grace John.
It's Nancy Grace John.
So then Dave is like, I got to get my PI TJ on this.
Yeah.
We got to get him in touch with Gabriel here.
Yeah.
This is crazy. So then now we really meet TJ Ward.
My name's TJ Ward. I'm a licensed private investigator here in the state of Georgia, and I've been doing it for 36 years. In July of 2005, I commenced an investigation after being hired by the Holloway family to try to find their daughter, Natalee Holloway. I haven't stopped working on it for going on 12 years now, and I won't give up. Dave Holloway is family to me.
Do you think he loves being a PI? That's a real question I wrote.
Super loves it.
This guy's got style. He's got like a stylish office.
He drinks whiskey at work. I love him.
Because like you see the New York PIs and they're all like stained shirts, drinking yesterday's coffee, sitting in their dirty cars.
Who are they all? They're all like Sipowicz from NYPD Blue.
That's exactly right. But we see this guy, TJ, he's got this fancy office.
Well, he's based out of Georgia.
I know.
So
He's been doing this for 35 years, you guys.
This gigantic, like, beautiful wooden desk.
I
Like,
know.
everything is just like a 50s PI.
Totally.
He looks like $1 million. This is when he has the basically empty glass of bourbon on the table. TJ, loving you. So February 7th, 2017, Dave, the dad, heads down to Tampa, Florida to meet up with Gabe for the first time ever. So just for the record, up to this point, everything that Gabriel has told Dave, TJ does what he does.
Yeah, he vetted it. Gabriel seems legit.
So TJ's like, yes, let's move forward with the Gabe thing.
Yeah, so we're in Tampa with TJ the PI and Dave the dad, and they're in this like warehouse waiting for Gabriel to show up.
Yeah, it's very like, Oxygen, we see you, girl.
I know.
We get it.
And then it was like, oh, he's late. Is he not coming? Like, what's happening? All of a sudden he shows up.
It's 20 minutes of like, I'm tense. Are you tense? Right. It's pretty tense. What time is it? The swelling music. And then suddenly Gabriel's here.
I'm a father of 2 daughters. I feel obligated to solve this. I want to help.
Girl, I hope that's true. I hope that we're not going to find out that there is like some shitty ulterior motive here.
Yeah, and also I'm sick of this whole like, you don't have to have a daughter to know that this sucks.
Totally.
You know what I mean?
If you have information, just come forward.
Like, if I could help, I would help. Yeah. Not a mother. But I know enough.
So here's the deal. Gabriel is relaying to us the story that John told him. John and Joran, the guy that killed Natalee, are friends.
Right.
Here is John's story that John told to Gabriel.
Right.
And Gabriel is telling to us.
Right.
John became friends with Joran, the murderer, because he like bumped into him one night and he had seen him on TV and he literally says like, hey, you're the guy that's like accused of that murder. Let's hang out. And apparently overnight, these 2 idiots are best fucking friends.
Right.
And then they start partying. So as Vandersloot is getting more comfortable and more comfortable with him, he starts opening up to John. John said that he went ahead and told him what happened to Natalee.
And so Gabriel goes on to say that according to John, Joran told him the whole story of how they picked up Natalee, and out of nowhere, Natalee starts foaming at the mouth.
Right.
And also, I'm just like, real quick, Oxygen, like, I hope Dave was like prepped for this. Because
I know. We're watching this dad get all of this horrible information about his daughter's death.
And Gabriel is almost, it's like there's a ticking clock and he's trying to get all the information out right away because Gabriel is not subtle or warm about this at all.
John said that Vandersloot goes, I took 2 drinks. I told the bartender, give me 2 drinks. So, but fix it good.
Jorn Vandersloot admits that he served Natalee a drink, and I think it was a spiked drink with GHB, which is a date rape drug.
So then they go down the beach. Vandersloot said that as he was trying to kiss her, she started foaming in the mouth because she was overdosing. He panicked. He didn't even put her in the side, rolled her over or nothing. She actually choked on her own vomit.
He describes things that he heard from John. I mean, truly horrible, brutal things happening to Dave's daughter, Natalee.
Yeah.
With no sense of, I think this is going to be really hard. And it's not all in the editing.
Right.
Gabriel's whole vibe
Yeah.
is very like, so then they killed her. And then it's like,
Right,
Gabriel,
I know.
girl, you have to soften this. Because
Yeah.
if Dave wasn't prepped for this in
Yeah.
any way, this is super traumatizing.
Totally.
So Gabriel says, look, like Jordan couldn't wake up Natalee.
Yeah. And so Gabriel says, like, he didn't actually kill her. When she was foaming at the mouth, she choked on her own vomit. So Joran freaks out and calls his dad the judge.
He panics. He calls his dad. His dad comes. He's very pissed off. He looks at her. He goes, oh my God, she's dead. He goes, all right, wait here. I'm going back to the house. He goes and picks up a burlap.
He gets a burlap sack, and then this is fucking brutal. Natalee doesn't like fit all the way in the sack.
This is so bad.
I know. They have to like mess her up a little bit to get her into the sack. They take her and they bury her in a national park under a cactus. Like that's how that story ends.
That's the story.
Yeah.
So then, like, one day, apparently, Joran gets John. He calls up Nancy Grace John.
One day, Vandersloot says, look, John, you know, I'm in deep trouble. They're going to find the body. Can you help me out?
And what made him think that?
Because you guys were getting close. All the searches, because you guys didn't stop. And Vanda said, look, I'm going to give you $1,500 to move the body. I'm going to write up a little map, and I'm going to tell you where it's at.
And what's weird, though, is like, so John, scrawny John,
right,
goes like, and he's like, yup, absolutely, best friend o' mine that I've known for a little bit. Apparently, the story goes that he goes and digs up Natalee by himself. She was only 3 feet underground.
Yeah.
And then John, by himself, puts the burlap sack in his aunt's car.
I said, so what did you do? He goes, well, I went ahead and opened the bag when I put it inside my aunt's car. So he puts it in the back, put the bones, he opens the bag, he goes, you know, all the bones were just brownish, moldy, and there was 2 inches of just black, like lard from the body when it decays on the bottom of the burlap. And her hair was there, blonde hair, and all the bones.
Now, I'm just talking like to be a realist here. This is a traumatizing, horrible thing, but like you can't do that by yourself.
Yeah, and I mean, that's totally true.
You can't do that by yourself.
Yeah, you're absolutely right about that. And so the story that we're told is that John knows somebody at the crematorium or whatever, at like the funeral home, and they take Natalee's body to this place, they cremate her, and then they go and they dump the ashes at low tide.
Yeah.
Which is just fucking horrifying because it's like, well, now they'll never find her. So the dad at the end of this, the dad and Gabriel are talking. And Gabriel is saying like, look.
There should be DNA evidence at the grave in the National Forest and the aunt's car.
Where they buried the body, there would still be enough DNA, like genetic material of her in that place for you to be able to prove that she had been there.
Mm-hmm.
So you guys need to go out there and do the testing. And you could probably also test in the back of John's aunt's car, the car that he used,
right,
and find DNA of Natalee there.
Because everyone's car is filthy for 10 years.
I know.
Or she still has the car. There's just a lot of reaching here.
I totally agree, but like it's sort of like good enough for the dad.
Well, because like after this, so like that's the story, right?
Yeah.
And after the meeting, Dave watches a bunch of videos that Gabriel took of John.
Yeah.
After I met with Gabriel, I went back to my hotel room to do some research on this guy, John Ludwig. Gabriel had sent me a bunch of videos that he had filmed of John at their home.
To document the story of what John has told a number of times.
In one of them, it shows John watching a rerun of an interview he did on Nancy Grace's show, talking about his friendship with Joran van der Sloot.
And I couldn't believe my eyes.
We have to talk about this for an hour.
You guys.
I'm so disturbed by this.
I mean, I just have, oh my God, Hammer John Ludwig in his hotel room screaming at a video of himself on Nancy Grace. To break it down, this is him talking to Nancy Grace on the show.
You're a friend of Joran van der Sloot's. Are you surprised that he's actually pled guilty to murder?
Well, he really didn't have a choice in this situation, so I'm just hoping for the best.
Well, what do you mean he didn't have a choice?
I mean, even I can't dispute the evidence. He obviously murdered her. I'm not saying that it wasn't provoked, and I believe he did have post-traumatic stress syndrome, but...
Now, this is him hammered in this video, screaming at this video of him on the show.
But how did that provoke him? I just fucking said it. She finds out he's involved by some goddamn email, she claims, and fucking stays there and slaps him around. How dare she put her hands on him to make him even take it to that level? There's no excuse. There's no fucking excuse. And don't try to make one for her.
And what he's saying, if it's a little confusing, on the hammered video that Gabriel took, he's basically saying that like Stephanie asked for it. She made him kill her. She shouldn't have been snooping around. She shouldn't have asked it. And what he says is like, how dare she put her hands on him to make him take it to the next level?
Yeah.
My friends, this is toxic masculinity at work. The victim blaming, and he's ranting and raving, and Gabriel isn't pushing him. Gabriel isn't asking any questions. This is John with a lot of fucked up shit coming out of his mouth.
Yeah.
Like weirdly watching himself on Nancy Grace.
She should rot in her grave over what she did to my guy, putting him in jail for all these years. I should piss on her fucking grave.
And the point of this is to show us, like, all right, Dave, that Natalee's dad, is obviously going to pursue this lead about John, but this is the kind of character we're dealing with.
Right.
This fucking crazy guy who's hammered, screaming at himself on the TV, this is the nightmare monster of a human that we're about to be dealing with.
Yes, and then we go back to, like, the official, like, the Nancy Grace footage from the episode.
Yeah.
Because then she's all of us. This, you guys, I don't care what we think about Nancy Grace, you agree with her in this moment. Because she's like, get him, cut his mic, get him, I don't want to look at him anymore. And I'm like, yes.
You know what? Cut his mic. John Ludwig, I reserve this for very, very few people, but you, sir, are a fool. And what you have said sets victims' rights back maybe a couple of 100 years. Take him off the screen. I don't want to look at him anymore.
Because what she's saying is, like, you can't victim blame and defend your friend the murderer, girl. Not
Exactly.
on my watch.
No.
And I'm like, Nancy, why aren't you like this all the time?
I know.
Like, what happened?
I know.
Like, now I'm thinking, what's the Scott Peterson timeline here? Because we know Scott Peterson broke Nancy Grace. But that's a moment where then you're like, shit, like, I see why people like her.
Yeah.
Because when she does shit like this, you feel, like, empowered. Like,
Totally.
she's not going to give you airtime for this bullshit.
Right,
But then
right.
she does some other horrible things. So it's like, Nancy, girl, you make it really hard. I try. I don't know what, like, I'm gonna, where credit's due, I give it. I have to give her credit there, but then she's garbage in other ways.
Right.
I don't know how to think about it.
Yes, you do. We hate Nancy Grace.
Yeah, don't fearmonger. Don't do that.
No.
Sometimes people are innocent, Nancy. Oh, I'm back. It feels good to be back. She did that one nice thing that one time. Okay, we're on. Next.
Thanks so much for checking out this episode, you guys. To hear the other 5 ad-free episodes of The Disappearance of Natalee Holloway, head over to our Patreon feed. That is where you can also find our episode-by-episode coverage of The Tiger King, Don't F with Cats, The Jinx, Making a Murderer, and so many more. It's over 140 ad-free, full bonus episodes to download and binge right this second. Head to patreon.com/truecrimeobsessed or go to our website and click the Patreon link. All right, you guys, we love you. Bye.